what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it.
Disappointing, obviously, and we're going to get into every aspect of the game. A lot of us will remember I was a part of a game very similar, 2005 Tennessee, where you're controlling every narrative of the first half, and not that you're counting on it's already a dub, but you're like, okay, what in the world could possibly go wrong in the second half where you're not victorious? And here comes a backup quarterback, just like that game, and all of a sudden you're in a dogfight, and that game ended in overtime. This one was never close after the second half started.
They employed that most ancient of footballing techniques, the two quarterback system, and you were completely unprepared for it. Look, so after the show, Jake, you know, like when we do the whiskey and wine or whatever, like I always say, right, that's more entertainment than actual analysis because it's also surface level and emotional.
Yeah.
But I was pretty adamant after the game that I felt like that was less about LSU screwing up and more about A&M making adjustments, playing well, and kind of manipulating you into those mistakes. So I kind of watched the film wanting to know if I agreed with that take or not after watching it for a few hours yesterday. And I do. I think it's a credit to Texas A&M and the changes that they made. Some of the tendencies from LSU that they preyed upon. And it's exactly what Brian Kelly said after the game. And the reason why that door is open is because offensively, you were very one-dimensional. You're very one-dimensional. And also, objectively, they just did not prepare for Marcel Reed at all. I mean, Greg Penn talked about it after the game. Yeah. Brian Kelly said it without saying it. If you listen to the comments where it's a lot of like, because of last week, we thought we had the running quarterback thing down if like he would come in, but they definitely were not sitting there repping Marcel Reed packages during the week.
It's college football. It's not the NFL, and that's not an excuse. That's just the way it is. I mean, you have a certain amount of time.
Yeah, you only got limited time. That's what I was telling people even Saturday was like,
and I
you
know
live
they don't
limited
want to
time. You're not going to practice Reed, but I bet you the coaches thought like, but we have the systems in place.
Right.
Like the coaches prepared somewhat for it, and they're like, well, we have the system. Look, we just played Taylor Green. Like, we have the systems in place. If they want to put Reed in, we should be able to handle it. The problem is, my God, Reed's fast. And you set up a running quarterback with multiple short fields. So it was a perfect storm of bad. Like, you didn't make him throw.
That is another part of it that is going to play into the kind of the breakdown. And look, you probably had some things in place, and two completely different quarterbacks, two different offenses, depending on which quarterback was in there. But also, he had one real drive. The rest of them, and the first one that he did after a bad pass by Nuss. Well, what do you do to a backup quarterback? You get him extremely comfortable from the jump start of him coming into the game. He didn't have to go 85 yards.
No,
he goes about 15 yards. And so that gets him confidence. And then he has a couple of more short drives that give him even more confidence. And so it was the perfect storm for them to bring in a backup quarterback and have success. And let's not act like he hasn't played either. I mean, he has certainly played. He's won big games.
We thought he was the guy. Year. Remember? Like, we thought Wigman, we were shocked they put Wigman back in Mizzou. And then Elko defended Wigman so emphatically they were like, oh, okay, never mind. Like, they really believe Wigman's the guy. And they did. Because he was god-awful, and they left him in there as long as they possibly could.
Yeah.
Wigman was absolutely cooked. It's almost, you know what's crazy about this game, Jake? If your defense played a little less good, Wigman stays in the game. like if you could have allowed Wigman to just complete a couple more, maybe just let him have a little more success, he stays in the game, and you probably win the game because you had him dead to rights. It was the best defensive performance that LSU's put on tape by far this entire year. I mean, shutting down the run. He looked completely discombobulated when he was going through his reads in terms of coverages. The pass rush consistently getting home, and then everything shifted. Easy E says, to be clear, this A&M team sucks. Okay, do they? because they're undefeated in the SC. They have one loss, and that's Nick Scorton, outside of Kennard, that's the best D lineman you faced all year. Nick Scorton was whooping yo ass, man. And it's not just in the pass rush. He was explosive in run defense. But it's not just him. It's Jamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, like that whole A&M D-line, which we knew was very good. But from a pass pro standpoint, I thought you'd be fine. I'm still a little disappointed you didn't manage to run it better. Obviously, that's the root of a lot of all of evil. At all. Yeah, at all. But no, but this is not, I mean, it's not a bad A&M. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, that A&M team with Reed at quarterback, I do think it's a much better team because of a couple reasons. Because Reed's talented. Also, they don't have receivers. They don't have receivers that are game-changing receivers. Yeah. So if you don't have that, why even try to force the issue? Now, game planning against them for a full week and knowing the offense, maybe that helps you out some. But we're talking about really good running backs. I mean, multiple. It's not just Moss. Multiple really good running backs. And when you bring Reed in, you kind of don't have to worry as much about your receiver play.
No.
Because, the receivers in that game probably made the one play, the 55-yarder, and that was a heck of a throw. But the way they constructed with Reed at quarterback, it does change who they are and who they can be.
So Brandon Richoux says, I hear you, T-Bob, but it was more about our mistakes than their adjustments. The guy with 2 INTs said so after the game. Shockness threw him the ball when he did it in the first half. See, I simply disagree. The first Nuss pick is the one that I could point to and say, okay, yes, like that should not have been thrown. At the same time, what?
I mean, they were all not great.
Yeah, but they played on your tendencies on the second one. I mean, you've been throwing that alert hitch forever, and so they gave you the exact same look, tricked him into thinking it was man, only the guy's the flat defender, and he sneaks out there. Like, they played exactly. You had already thrown that hitch twice successfully in the game. They set you up, and then he almost threw the pick again on the hitch the next drive, and he had to double clutch. So, no, I'm saying that's a tendency, right? You've been rushing forward. They know the back's going to.
The third one, though, is like you got to throw that one away. The second one, for sure, to your point,
I'm saying the first one is like you got to take the good with the bad. On 3rd and 15 in the first half, Nuss scrambled around, threw across his body, crazy throw, one that you would not say to throw. Aaron Anderson, Kyron Lacey undercuts it, big first down, right? So he was trying to make that same type of play, and it was really bad. Second one, I feel like got manipulated, and then that third one, I feel like got manipulated. They know. The back checks, okay, do I have anybody? And then he's been leaking out. They've been using that very effectively the last couple weeks. And they had all their 4-man games playing up there. And do you think the end instinctually decided to man up Caden Durham there? Or was that a part of the call, the game from original? Because he doesn't really rush that hard.
Yeah.
He kind of loops around and looks like he's waiting on it.
A little bit, and you'd have to see it because you can make a case for either one. But certainly, I mean, in those throws. Now, the second one, you see that all the time. When you get fooled there and they make a play on it, sure, we could have a conversation about that one. The first and third just can't happen, though. The first one is obviously.
See, I feel like the third was kind of like. Do you think he even saw the defender?
You. I mean, either way, like it does nothing for you. It's a 2-yard throw in that situation, but the game pretty much was already in hand in that one. But for the first one, you also have to realize the situation.
Yeah,
I mean you're up
you can live to fight another day.
Yeah, you're up 17-7. Sure, they're about to put Reed into the game, but you make him go 60 yards instead of the 15 yards, and you throw that one into the stands, and who knows where the game ends? Who knows where the game flow goes there? But it's just there was 2 defenders there. There was nothing you were going to do in that moment. And that's really the first time. So for all the talk about Nussmeier and that being the thing, maybe in the offseason that you kind of worry about, it's like, well, that hasn't really happened. Sure, there's been some times where, he's made some throws that maybe almost got intercepted. Like that was the first one where it's like, okay, that's the first time that I've seen that in this season.
They to me. Oh, and what really sucks is you go back and you look, and Xavier Thomas is a much easier scramble throw and is wide open coming straight back at Nuss, like running back to the ball.
Right in front.
Right in front of him, on the edge. Like he could have made that throw with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
And he just got locked in on Aaron Anderson. How could you not? Because Aaron Anderson's awesome. That would be one of the massive positives this game. I also think, though, Jake, in retrospect, yes, you put up 17 in the first half. The offense, and we can talk about the missed field goals, but the stalled drives are the bigger part of the missed field goals, and the offense really wasn't that good actually throughout the game.
Right.
You were never on schedule after first down. You were constantly in second and long, third and long. Now you made some very impressive plays in order to kind of mask some of those deficiencies. And the defense in one of your touchdown drives set you up with a short field. Great job by Sage Ryan forcing the fumble. Great job it should have been a one-play touchdown. Mason Taylor dropping that initial pass, and then a beautiful play design after Trades Green gets you down there. Mason Taylor immediately makes up for it. But still, that's a short field that you had, right?
Yeah.
The Aaron Anderson touchdown, awesome 75-yard touchdown. Like, Nuss throwing it a little bit behind Anderson by design because he had to fit it through those defenders. Anderson having the athleticism to reach back, stumble, stay up with his arm, then have the speed to house it. Fantastic. But outside of that first field goal drive, you didn't really have like a good sustained rhythmic drive, and you could never run the ball all night long. And so like Coach Kelly's kind of talking about a couple of things when that happens. One, you're forcing your quarterback to just do, like he said, stand on his head.
Yeah.
Like every time you're throwing it and he feels like he has to make the play every single time because you're constantly behind the chains.
And that goes into the pass rush too.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I was gonna say, and then secondly, you unlock like Scorton and all those other guys because they can just be full one track mind, and then Dellinger goes down, and that hurt you bad. Paul Mabinga, that was. I mean, look, of course he struggled. That is a D line up there with the best that you'll face this season, and suddenly you're thrown in there against those guys, and so I guess my point is, I'm still very bullish on this LSU team. When the defense was kicking ass before they got hit with a curveball that they were not ready for at all, they looked fantastic executing the game plan. Offensively, you're obviously going to have to run the ball better. I think you're going to face easier front sevens down the road, and you will run the ball better kind of because of it. And the fact that you put yourself in a position to be up 17-7 is something to be applauded. But even the 17-7, again, defensively, it was dominant. Offensively, I feel like it was a bit fraudulent. And then you kind of saw that once in the second half when it just completely snowballed on you and unspooled.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the run game. It's not like the inability to run the ball. They didn't even get started. I mean, it was never even a conversation. And it's surprising. And I'm not saying I ever thought you were going to run for 150 even in a game like this. But what was it? 23 carries for 24 yards, I believe, last time
I mean,
that I looked on the broadcast.
And then, I've credited Joe Sloan in this offense for being willing to, run on second down to stay on schedule, and they get into 2nd and 10. And I charted, and I may have missed a couple, but 6 2nd and 10 runs. And they went for -2, no gain, -2, 3 yards, no gain, 3 yards.
Yeah, so as a play caller, it's like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. But it's something that you try to stay on schedule. You need to stay on schedule. Gosh, it was, you're trying to run right at the teeth of that defense, and you weren't going to be successful in that.
Yeah, you surprised not really any more edge stuff, no stretch, no horn boss.
The stretch zone they ran against Arkansas was successful.
It just looked like they just kind of went back to, okay, we're just going to run a little bit of inside zone, and that's gonna make it work. I don't know what they saw in film to not maybe try to get a bit more creative in the run game, but it's tough to beat. It's always going to be tough to beat a very good team on the road, and it's even harder when you can't run the ball. And granted, because of how solid you played early on, you set yourself up with the opportunity to overcome those elements. But then when you turn the ball over, that obviously changes everything. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.